no matter who you're for, candidate-wise, or where you come from, there's a lot of reasons to be angry with what's happened. And so all we can do is now that we're where we're at, hope that a couple things will happen. One, there's going to be conventions in each district, each congressional district, on March the 29th. March the 29th, and yours is in Lansing.
UAW Local 6000 in Lansing.
In Lansing. Now, I don't know, at these conventions, in each district, these aren't new rules. These are the rules which were adopted like last year, okay? Each district is going to select delegates to the National Convention in proportion to the votes in that district. So, if in this district, do you know what the proportion is?
Just about. It's Ingham County has been.
No, I'm sorry.
Do you want to know
No, the total, no.
170.
No, how many delegates, Clinton, how many uncommitted? Two or three?
4 Clinton, 2 uncommitted.
2 uncommitted, okay. So the uncommitted, which I believe should be properly now Obama delegates, okay? That's my own belief. I hope that the Clinton delegate, and by the way, I'm uncommitted in this thing. I'm neutral, because I really want my effort to try to change this system, which has run into all these bumps. But I still want this effort to be unrelated to who I might favor for president. I don't want to be connected. I don't want people to say, well, he's trying to do this in order to help one candidate or another. That ain't the point. That's not what I've been about. So, and I say this, in other words, as someone who is not committed to either of our 2 candidates. I'm committed to winning. And I just hope what we've done here is not going to set back that effort. That's, of course, our fear, now that this is so close, is that our effort to reform this damn cockamamie system could somehow or other make hurt feelings, and produce such anger, people frustrated, that it's going to set back our cause. And so I'm trying everything I know how to avoid that. But in any event, what's going to happen, I hope that the Clinton people are wise enough, and I'm going to urge them next week to do what I'm saying right now, that the uncommitted delegates, I believe, should be Obama delegates. Because although, logically, many people who voted uncommitted would have been for Edwards. And logically, some of those people, as a second choice, could be for Clinton, not Obama. Logically, that is very possible. But nonetheless, I think in terms of the way this thing is rolled out, that the fair result in Michigan, the fairest, there is no fair result, because Obama wasn't on the ballot. He took his name off, he wasn't on the ballot. That's unfortunate, that's where we're at. But I think that the thing that approaches fairness, that will at least avoid digging ourselves into a deeper hole, put it that way, will be if the delegates in each congressional district that are uncommitted will be Obama delegates. That'll still give Clinton a break statewide, or at least the majority statewide. And then we don't know what's going to happen. If a candidate emerges between now and the meeting of the Credentials Committee, whenever that is, presumably May or June, if one of the 2 candidates gets a clear lead, so that it's no longer going to impact on the outcome as to how Michigan and Florida's delegates go, that would make life easier for all of us. It's out of our control. The other states are the ones that will decide this. It'll be now Ohio, it'll be Texas, it'll be Hawaii, it'll be the states that haven't yet voted. So if a candidate emerges who is clearly going to be the nominee at the convention, it'll be easy. They're going to seat our delegates. In fact, Obama's already said in that circumstance he would favor seating our delegates, even though we, quote, violated the rule, and Clinton has already said that, period, without any qualification, because Clinton will be benefited if our delegates are seated just the way they are, even if all the uncommitted are Obama delegates. Well, if I haven't confused you totally, let me weigh in on superdelegates. Talk about superdelegates. Superdelegates were a phenomenon which was created, I don't know how many decades ago now. The thought being then that it would number one, give an opportunity and an incentive for people to get active in the party. In other words, that people who are the party activists, people who are elected officials, people who were active in labor unions or other groups that would be identified by their office as being superdelegates would be able to go to the convention. And it would be kind of a balance wheel as well as an incentive for people to participate. That these would be kind of the people who are the activists, the ongoing activists, whose goal would be to elect somebody, to elect a Democrat rather than any particular Democrat. In other words, they would be the ones, this is the theory, who would say, we're going to focus on the person who's most likely to win, rather than on whether that person's philosophy or position on issues is closest to our particular position. There's no unanimity, there's no ground rules, there's no communication between superdelegates. Debbie Stabenow is a superdelegate, so am I. We're independent. We're perfectly allowed to vote for anyone we want to. And if the system isn't a good system, if we ought to go back to just having all or more of our delegates elected directly at these primaries or caucuses, then that's fine, but we have to do it in advance. You can't change those rules. You can't do it in the middle of an election. I mean, you can't right now change the rules on superdelegates, because that'd be changing the rules in the middle of the game. So that's kind of where it stands. Both the candidates are wooing the superdelegates. Nobody's trying to get my support. They've given up on me. They know my goal is very, very focused, and that's to get the Michigan delegation seated and to try to see in the face of this very complicated situation which is unfolded this time and which disproves my premise. My premise is these two states have a role they should not perpetually have, where half the visits are paid to these states, where 70 visits on the average are paid by each Democratic candidate to Iowa and New Hampshire. 7-0. My colleague and buddy, Chris Dodd, took his family away from their home in Washington and moved them to Iowa. Took his kid out of kindergarten to go to Iowa. And I want to just give you a kind of an anecdote about Bill Clinton, and then I'll stop. To show you the power of New Hampshire. Clinton signed that pledge in 1992, like all the candidates sign pledges. They don't even show up. So he signs his New Hampshire pledge in 1992, that he'll protect their position. In 1992, he came back in New Hampshire. He didn't win, but he came in second, which he did better than expected. So that gave him a boost and gave him, he called himself the comeback kid because he did well in New Hampshire relatively, okay? So it gave him a boost. Now it's 1996. He's president of the United States. He's running for re-election. He doesn't have any opposition in the Democratic Party. No one's running against him. He has all the primaries and caucuses locked up because there's no one running against him. He's the most powerful person in the world. He can blow up the world in about half an hour. All he has to do is punch one button. Humanity is half destroyed. Okay, that's how powerful the President of the United States is, which scares you the hell out about George Bush. It's a fact of life. It's a fact of life. So what happens in '96? He goes to New Hampshire. He pays his courtesy call there because they're having a primary, even though he doesn't have any opposition. And they say, well, now, Mr. President, Delaware has scheduled a primary 4 days from now, from our primary. And under our law in New Hampshire, no other state can have a primary within 7 days of us. You signed a pledge, Mr. President, 4 years ago, and we want you to keep it and not go to Delaware. And he didn't go to Delaware. President of the United States doesn't go to Delaware because New Hampshire law. She signed a pledge to live by. So it's, anyway, that's where we're at. And a lot of other things we could chat about, and I'm happy to do it. But let me stop there and just thank you.